You are listening to the Break Time Tech Talks podcast, a bite-sized tech podcast for busy developers, where we'll briefly cover technical topics, news snippets, and more in short time blocks. I'm your host, Jennifer Reif, an avid developer and problem solver with special interest in data, learning, and all things technology. My voice is gone this week, so if it sounds a bit off out there, that's because it is. It's also episode 50 of Break Time Tech Talks. I can't believe we're 50 episodes in already. Thank you for sticking with me so far. I started this podcast last summer, and I've really enjoyed sharing my learnings on this platform. I hope you've enjoyed the journey as well. This week, I started digging into some other ways to tackle GraphRAG and Spring AI, starting with Spring AI's advisors. It's looking pretty cool so far, though I'm currently stuck. I'll talk a little bit about that. I also updated a repository to the 1.0 release of Spring AI. More will be coming. And I hosted a live stream to help users prepare for the Neo4j developer certification. To top it off, I'll recap a fantastic content piece I came across in a hidden place: documentation. To start us all off, I want to celebrate Break Time Tech Talks episode 50 with a podcast feedback form. I know that doesn't sound all that exciting maybe, but I'm really excited to open this forum up and let people toss in suggestions or just get a check on how you're feeling for the content length and some other things that I've set up in the podcast. So if you want to provide your feedback, it's completely anonymous. Please feel free to do that. I will include a link to the form in the podcast description. Then I also updated the Spring AI starter kit, which I will link the GitHub repository to as well, to the Spring AI 1.0 GA release. This and other language versions of this project were created early last year, if I remember correctly, and it's been a while since I did an update to this. I went in and updated the Spring AI to 1.0 and then did some fixes and had to change some package and library names and so on. There were a couple of changes to the dependencies, and then also the prompt template and the way that you construct it changed a bit. The methods and the way you put together the final prompt by injecting some of the variables that I'm using to do the manual GraphRAG right now, that has changed a bit. You can check out the differences in the repository to see where those are. And I plan to update my other repositories using Spring AI as well. Those will be coming shortly. And then also the LangChain4j is now 1.0, so I'll need to update those too. So lots of updates will hopefully be coming to lots of repositories, but this at least started off the domino effect of them. The big topic I dug into this week was exploring alternate ways to do Spring AI GraphRAG. I've talked a little bit previously in several episodes about different ways to do GraphRAG using Spring AI and LangChain4j, but currently I'm doing GraphRAG very manually. I'm running a vector search and then passing in the results of that vector search to a graph retrieval query, and then taking the results of that graph retrieval query and stuffing the prompt, and then sending that stuffed prompt to the LLM to get a response back. And that's working really well. I don't really have complaints about that, but I wanted a way to streamline that and use a more abstracted or efficient chaining process, if you will. There's a couple of different ways to do that in Spring AI. One is through advisors, and the other way is through tools. Trying to do GraphRAG using Spring AI advisors, I wanted to start there, and then I plan to explore tools. They have a Spring AI advisor for question answer that does a vector search out of the box. And then I created a custom advisor for the graph retrieval piece. According to the documentation, you can pass context from one advisor to the next. So you could chain several advisors and several steps onto your LLM call before you actually send it to the LLM. I thought this sounded like a really good way to approach it, but I'm having trouble parsing the context from one request to the next. That's currently a roadblock. The vector search results are coming back as a single object, but the actual value of that object is a list of documents. I'm trying to convert that object into a list of documents in order to pass IDs of those documents into my graph retrieval query. And that's where I'm kind of stuck. I'm having trouble parsing that and converting it into something that my graph retrieval query can take. But I am able to pass the context, and I am able to read that object of documents, but I'm unable to parse it and pull out the individual components that I need there. So I'm still working on it. I'm going to tackle some more over the next several hours, couple of days, and just see where things end up. I did also, as an intermediary step, have to figure out how to auto log the request, response, and the prompt to the console. There is a nice way to do that. I just had to play with a couple of the configuration properties in the application, but that really looks nice now and provides a much nicer insight than manually printing each stage to the console, which is what I was doing in the manual GraphRAG rendition. You can't really do that with the advisors, but you can log the request by just changing a configuration property. And again, that's looking really nice, is super helpful, and is helping me debug and move along that process. If I could get the advisors to work, then I'll explore using the Spring AI tools for the retrieval query piece. So possibly using the advisor for the vector search and then using a tool for the retrieval query. I'll try to sleep on the problem that I'm having right now and see if there's a way that missing puzzle piece comes to me. Otherwise, I may try to see if I just need to jump into tools or if there's an alternate way to do it. I'll continue doing research. Either way, I will keep you posted. Once I complete this exercise with Spring AI, exploring the advisors and the tools, I'll try to do a similar exercise in LangChain4j to see if there's an alternate way to do GraphRAG without the manual steps that I have done previously. I also this week ran a Neo4j certified developer live stream. Thanks for my colleagues for hosting this. I put together some content and updated some previous documentation and presentation materials that I had done in years past. If you're not familiar with the Neo4j developer certification, it is a certification that showcases the concepts and how to use Neo4j. Shows that you have hands-on experience with Neo4j. It is a really nice bullet to add to your resume or CV. And in this live stream, I walk through what to expect on the exam, the topics, the types of questions that are there, and some tips and tricks that I would recommend for you to study and pass the exam. If you're interested and you haven't been Neo4j certified yet, I would encourage you to check that out if you want to become certified. The content piece I want to look at this week is in an unusual place, and that's the Spring AI documentation. It's their AI concepts page. It might seem odd that I'm linking documentation as a really fun and interesting and helpful piece of content, but I wanted to call out how impressed I was that this docs page included excellent explanations of concepts and reinforced certain concepts using diagrams in just the right places. It wasn't overly diagram heavy. It had a really nice mix of text explanations and diagram explanations, but I found this a really nice read. I went through it the other day before digging into the Spring AI advisors stuff that I talked about earlier, and I picked up a few extra tidbits that I didn't know before. The content piece explains models, prompts, embeddings, tokens, and output. Then it digs into integrating AI into applications with a couple of different approaches, plus discussions on retrieval augmented generation, tool calling, and evaluation. All the while looking at how Spring AI approaches these different components and how they fit together. I find it is a little bit rare to find documentation content that doesn't focus on just reference information, and I really appreciated that Spring AI included this foundational page. By all means, it makes sense that documentation is reference focused or reference based, but having this to set the stage was really a nice touch. So kudos to the Spring AI team on adding this. This week, Break Time Tech Talks is celebrating 50 episodes. What a huge milestone. I've added a feedback form for you to send me your thoughts and suggestions. Then I talked through my current journey with doing GraphRAG, updating my manual implementation by trying to use Spring AI advisors. I'm currently stuck on that, but I'll keep after it and see if I can break through those barriers. Finally, the Spring AI concepts page in the documentation was a really helpful explanation of general AI concepts, as well as how Spring AI approaches them. As always, thanks for listening and happy coding.